Was Tokugawa Tsunayoshi's Edict on Compassion for Living Things truly an infamous law? Surprisingly, its hidden purpose was far more astonishing than anyone knows. This law is notorious for causing immense suffering to commoners. However, some experts point out it also had effects like poverty relief and maintaining public order. In truth, an even more astonishing reality was concealed. Beyond Tsunayoshi's personal compassion, what grand governance strategy did the shogunate truly pursue? In this video, we will explain why the Edict on Compassion for Living Things was issued, what positive aspects existed despite the commoner's suffering, and the true reason it was later branded a bad law. Now, let's delve into the truth of Tokugawa Tsunayoshi and the Edict on Compassion for Living Things. In the main feature, we also elaborate on Tsunayoshi's surprising personality. Tokugawa Tsunayoshi, the fifth shogun. His reign is often characterized as tyrannical due to the Edict on Compassion for Living Things. However, his true nature was far more complex. Initially, upon assuming the shogunate, Tsunayoshi was praised as an enlightened ruler who promoted civil administration. He encouraged scholarship and deeply revered Confucianism. What he particularly emphasized was Jin, benevolence, a core teaching of Confucianism. This philosophy, advocating compassion for all living beings, formed the bedrock of his political philosophy. Furthermore, the influence of his birth mother, Keishoin, was significant. She was a devout Buddhist, said to have deeply instilled in Tsunayoshi a strong aversion to taking life. As Tsunayoshi was not blessed with children, he was reportedly advised by a high-ranking monk that it was retribution for killing many creatures in a past life, leading him to prohibit killing in hopes of progeny. Against this backdrop, the Edict on Compassion for Living Things emerged as a policy intricately woven from Tsunayoshi's personal beliefs, faith, and desire for descendants. Initially, the decree began with prohibitions on the shogun's family hawk hunting and the protection of certain animals. This was strongly intended to admonish samurai against taking life. However, its scope gradually expanded. Not only abandoned dogs and cats, but also birds, fish, and even insects became subjects of protection. Among them, dogs were special. There were vast numbers of stray dogs in Edo, so much so that government-run dog shelters, known as inuyashiki, were built for their protection. These inuyashiki incurred enormous costs, their maintenance funded by commoners' taxes. This became a major reason for the law being remembered as infamous. So, why did Tsunayoshi cling so obsessively to dogs and promote a decree that caused such suffering to commoners? Ostensibly, it was a law born from compassion. Yet, beneath the surface, it also addressed contemporary social issues. Early Edo still bore the remnants of the Sengoku period, and people had little resistance to taking life. This contributed to deteriorating public order. Shogun Tsunayoshi sought to improve overall public safety by elevating people's moral standards and discouraging needless killing through this edict. In particular, provisions for severe punishment against those who abandoned infants or the sick reveal an intention to promote protection for the poor and strive for a more humane society. Moreover, the large numbers of stray dogs posed significant hygienic and public safety problems, biting people and transmitting diseases. The inuyashiki, by housing and managing these stray dogs, also aimed to improve urban sanitation and prevent the spread of epidemics. Furthermore, numerous officials and magistrates were appointed to care for the dogs. This also led to the creation of employment for those out of work. In essence, the Edict on Compassion for Living Things was not merely an animal welfare law, but part of a multifaceted social reform based on Confucian governance principles. So, despite having such rational aspects, why was it continuously condemned as an infamous law by later generations? The enforcement of the decree was incredibly strict, beyond imagination. Violators faced severe penalties, oppressing the lives of commoners. For instance, records show banishment for merely kicking a dog, and even capital punishment for killing a chicken. It's no wonder commoners' discontent grew. Such extreme enforcement deviated greatly from the original spirit of compassion, and was perceived simply as an abuse of power. Moreover, the law didn't only target dogs and cats. Severe penalties were also stipulated for those who failed to protect abandoned children or the sick. Despite these decrees having aspects of protecting the vulnerable, commoners felt only restriction and burden. Then, after Tsunayoshi's death, the Edict on Compassion for Living Things was abolished by the 6th shogun Ienabu. Commoners reportedly rejoiced. Behind this abolition was the argument by Confucian scholars like Arai Hakuseki that excessive regulations tormented the people and, conversely, undermined national strength. However, after the decree's abolition, stray dogs increased again, and sanitation worsened. Some even called for its reenactment. History is always told by the victors. Tsunayoshi's reputation as having enacted a bad law might, in fact, have been a one-sided narrative created by later eras. The Edict on Compassion for Living Things undeniably imposed burdens on commoners. Yet, at its core, lay Tsunayoshi's vision for an ideal society. It was a society governed not by force, but by benevolent rule, filled with compassion and order. A certain spirit of animal welfare that resonates even today. Tsunayoshi was not merely the dog shogun. His policies were a far-sighted attempt to solve complex social problems. In this video, you should have gained a deeper understanding of why the Edict on Compassion for Living Things was issued and its true purpose. You would have also understood that behind the commoners' suffering lay various positive aspects such as maintaining public order, improving sanitation, protecting the vulnerable, and elevating moral standards. Furthermore, the true reason it was condemned as a bad law by later generations has been revealed: excessive enforcement and misunderstandings rooted in the social conditions of the time. Tokugawa Tsunayoshi's Edict on Compassion for Living Things cannot be simply categorized as good or evil. It hides the anguish of a nation's leader and universal questions that transcend time. Historical evaluations can never be told from just one perspective. We hope that today's reevaluation of Tsunayoshi will offer a new viewpoint connecting the past and the future.